what you see here in progress is a circa 1986 Funai VCP, and this would have the first generation Shintom mechanism. I gotta think where I left off. Oh yeah, if you recall that 1984 top loader Funai VCP I have, the reason why it does say 3-speed is because that one was only a standard play only. It was a rental machine. This one is not a rental machine, but it's still built like a tank. Not sure why they had the indicators automatic. They're all automatic speed switching, but 3-speed because it does SP, LP, and SLP, or EP, however you want to consider it. And in progress, this is a very compact machine, but it's a brick. It weighs a ton. First gen Shintom mechanism. It's going to have that cool startup and loading noise. This unhinges like that. Now this is as I received it, and naturally it's going to need new belts, and wait till you see it's all messed up. It has a big massive power transformer, voltage regulators, and everything else looks to be intact. So let's go ahead and remove the video head. Yeah, these first gen Shintom mechanisms are the true tanks. The flywheel is so heavy. Ugh, it stuck to me. Yeah, the belt is completely goo. Has that metal loading ring, the loading motor there, idler pulley there. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get all this old belt gunk off. Well, it took some time, but I used the ultrasonic to get all the belt residue off. I mean, it was very bad. And the ultrasonic does wonders for taking off old belts that completely turn to goo, liquefied. For example, that shaft on the motor here, it's not pretty looking, but it's still smooth and it's all off now. It all came off in there. That pulley there, it all came off. And what's in here is the flywheel. We'll take that off in a minute. I very carefully balance. I can't get the shaft off, it's press fit on, but I just very carefully was able to suspend it above the water just to get in the shaft in there to do its thing. And it didn't happen right away. I had to put the temperature on 50 degrees, and I ran it for 60 minutes before it just did anything. It was that bad. So I'm gonna take the flywheel out and we'll go from there. The flywheel took about 90 minutes to do because it was the worst, and it actually got it completely off. It completely turned the water black. It's not water, it's a straight simple green we use in there. It does wonders, but yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I'm gonna clean my fingers with some alcohol or something. Not bad, but yeah, we got all the belt residue off. So now we can at least reassemble it, re-lubricate everything, and proceed. All right, and I just got done now. Finished wiping out the bottom. There was pieces of belt in there that were totally turned to goo. That's cleaned up. Use the air compressor on it. Nice big linear power supply and discrete voltage regulator transistors. Funai branded IC. And up front here I just deoxided the buttons and tracking control. And last night I finished cleaning up the transport. Just some things, just like the 1987 Symphonic. This has an aluminum door. I believe this is from 1986 or possibly late 85, so it's one of the older ones. New loading motor belt, fresh grease on the worm gear, and fresh grease where needed, and oil where needed. Lubricated the spindles here. Had to replace one of the brake shoes in there. It was rubber and it completely turned to goo somehow, so I replaced that. I have not cleaned the heads yet. That's next. I figure I'll do it while it's out of the machine. Fresh grease where needed. Metal loading ring. Flywheel. New belts. Loading motor belt. I mean, just look how thick the bottom bearing plate is on the flywheel. I mean, this mechanism here weighs a good, I don't know, but it's heavy. It is pretty thick metal on all pieces here. It's very very solid. So let's get to cleaning the heads. Oh, also wanted to mention these outboard motors, they're just Sankyos. And this bottom piece here actually just pops off with a screwdriver, like one flat blade screwdriver on this side, one on that side, just pops off. Because the bottom piece is actually the speed sensor, and the bottom bearing is accessible. Put a drop of oil on that, put a drop of oil on the front bearing, and put a dab of grease on this plastic piece in case it touches. It has some lubrication. And there you go, the tape path has been thoroughly cleaned. Audio head demagnetized, erase head, or the pinch roller lightly sanded with 400 grit sandpaper, then wiped. And it's pretty bad, pretty dirty in here. No erase head. Alright, we're back in the VCR. Let's do a test. Who knows how long this thing's been sitting, but this is the first time it's been used in a long time. There is a very firm grip on the tape. So insert tape. I'll do that again, I wasn't focused. Very quiet and smooth loading mechanism. The only thing this doesn't do is the very cool head drum startup sound that the 5200 and 5400 symphonics do. But it does have the loading motor sound, so here we go. Very quiet. So let's play. I'm gonna hit rewind search. Very quiet. Fast forward search, standard play, because that's has a dummy test jig in there, and stop. Very smooth. Here's fast forward. And I'm gonna hit rewind, and we'll test to make sure the Hall effect sensor is working, and it should automatically kick out. Yep. And then back to eject. Nope, it faulted. I have to clear fault first. Now I can do eject. Oh, one more time in the play. Now we'll hit stop. It's a very quiet machine. Well, next thing I gotta do, I didn't put all the screws in yet, but I'm gonna tighten down the transport mechanism and hook it up and see if I need to do any further adjustments, like for the audio head azimuth or something like that, and then I can begin buttoning it up and polishing it. So here it is, all finished up. Flip open the little hood here. So it's basically the same as a full-size VCR, but they, overlap. Put the power supply up front for more room. Look at that heat sink in there for the power regulators. There's no tuner, just an RF modulator output, being a player only. So this thing's just a tank. It's very well built yet again. So now let's demonstrate a tape loading. Okay. Cadence roller. There's only one adjustment I had to make. The guidepost right here, I had to turn it a quarter turn clockwise, because if you ever get a VCR where no matter what speed, or more likely the speed on extended play, you get tracking noise no matter what position you put the tracking in. So you get tracking noise no matter what position you got the tracking control in. Best thing to do is just check out the alignment of these. Don't do anything drastic, just adjust it maybe a quarter turn counterclockwise or clockwise, see if it improves. In my case, I went counterclockwise first. It made the tracking noise far worse. I turned it clockwise a half turn. It got better, but it's like I overshot it, so I backed off a quarter turn. Perfect, now tracking locks in. So I don't know the history of this machine. It was an eBay purchase, and it has everything with it, but the cover was missing all 4 screws, so somebody's been in here before. So I don't know what happened. So yeah, it just needed all new belts, lube job, and that one adjustment made, a very minute amount, to bring it back in the spec. The audio head was perfect where it's at. Now I'm gonna do this one more time without the heater running so you can hear all the noises. It's very quiet actually. So the only thing this doesn't do is the cool head drum startup sound like the other ones. But I have a 1984 Funai player only. If I was for a rental play, standard play only, it doesn't do it. I placed this, judging by the design of it, from about, I would say, late 85 through 86. So this is the second oldest Funai deck I got. And as you can see, it's nothing at all like today. It's very well made and weighs quite a bit. So after 35 years, it just needed a good tune-up. Grease dried up, belts turned to goo, but didn't need anything else. So here's play again. Very smooth mechanism. Here's fast forward search. Rewind search. Okay. There is no pause function on this. This tape's a little noisy, but it's just a test tape. Here's stop. I'm gonna let this lower. Now I'll just do fast forward. Of course, I use the noisy tape. I hate this because it's not the VCR. All these mid to late 90s and on tapes are just so cheaply made. You know, if you were to compare this to a VHS tape from the early 80s, they had much thicker and heavier materials for the case. I have some. There's rewind. This tape's has about had it. Has a very quiet braking mechanism. So here's eject. Yeah, we'll demonstrate this with everything put together for good tape. This tape came out of a VCR we bought at the thrift store, so I tend to take those tapes and just use them as test tapes, and this one's about had it, but whatever. As long as it, because I do a full run of things when I restore a VCR. So the first thing I noticed, I do a fast forward and rewind, and if the tape doesn't stop and it kind of spools out a little bit, yeah, I had to replace the brake pads in this. They were rubber and they also turned to goo. So no problem. Since you can't get the brakes for it, what I had to do is I take either an O-ring or a thick piece of belt, and I cut it and I glue it onto the mechanical arm where the brake pads were, and I glue it in place, and that fixes it, and it grips just fine. And the other thing, I run it through all its paces. I do full fast forward, rewind, play to the end, make sure the end sensors work. I make sure everything stays in spec, and then after I play all these test tapes, I clean it one more time, then I button it up and call it done. So we'll go ahead, get it polished up, buttoned up, and do a proper demonstration on a TV. Well, one thing's for sure, I just moved this tape and look, the front lens just broke loose. Yeah, I don't even know where this tape came from. It's dirty, but it's good enough as a test tape. One thing that's excellent for cleaning video heads, since they're so delicate, are these little chamois swab sticks. That was me rubbing it against the top head drum, but I mean, you can literally just put it up against there like I am and rotate the head back and forth as well as the whole drum, and it'll safely clean the heads and get all the crud off, which it did. And you know, your audio head and control heads here. Pinch roller, I tend to, like, you know, if it looks glazed, I'll take some 400 grit sandpaper, lightly sand it, then clean it, and it should be like new, and it is. And that's about it. I clean all the guideposts and everything. So yeah, one last thing. This right here is the dew sensor. The first and second gen Shintom mechanism had them, and Funai did incorporate it into their machines. The light for it is that LED right there next to the tracking knob. That was very common in the 80s, because if you move the VCR from a cold to a warm room, moisture would condense on the metal parts, and that would definitely cause problems with your tape, maybe even damage. So this would lock out the VCR till that dew sensor dried, then it allow you to use it. I know some Panasonics, when they had dew sensors, early 80s units, if it got it on there, it would turn the VCR on and ramp up the head and just leave it run with no tape in there until the dew light went out. I had a commercial grade Panasonic one from 1984 in high school where I was testing everything, and for some reason it triggered it, even though there's nothing that would have triggered it, and it ran for like that, but I simply unplugged it, plugged it back in, and it was fine. That's on my wish list too. I got to get that Panasonic deck. It was we had a bunch of players. I don't have the model number handy, but a bunch of players that were commercial grade, and it had a big blank window where the VFD would have been, but it had a second VFD window for the play and tape counter functions. But we also had the recording version that utilized both. It had 2 big VFDs on it. It was really cool. I got to get that one. So yeah, let me start buttoning this thing back up. Now the one thing we get to do now, someone still left the original plastic film on some of the pieces, like here. So let's peel off this 35-year-old piece. Oh yeah, oh yeah, here we go. Best part is there's another piece of plastic film we're going to get to shortly. Sweet. That's the issue of not knowing the history of these things. Something did get spilled there that did deform the plastic a little. I wiped it out, but you can see like little run marks there, and it kind of ran all the way down to there. It didn't get on any electronics, but if you look at the bottom here, it kind of melted it. Some, luckily it's all hidden. And there's some right there. That's as far as it got. It didn't damage anything. What's this? We got one more big plastic film to peel off. Now we're going to demonstrate the Funai VP-8000 VCP. Like I said, I think this one's from 85 through 86, which would be the successor to the Funai right here, which is the model number VP-1500. Interesting, this one's has an aluminum faceplate that's riveted on. So yeah, this is even more of a tank. We'll start off with an extended play tape first. Now, oddly, this does not have automatic power on or anything. Like example, if I have this off, it won't take the tape in. Nor does it have automatic play. It does have auto rewind at the end of the tape, but not automatic off. So power on. We'll just do this right here. This is an extended play tape, so this is obviously dubbed, not by me, of course. Non-flying erase heads. I believe, yeah, I have the tracking still set to the center. I may have to adjust it a little bit. It's a little off. There we go. Which way do I gotta go? Here. I think that's fine right there. I met Richard Concepcion, the late Richard Concepcion, at that Anthrocon, and I always loved watching it. I love this intro using Apollo 100, Rapper T Rabbit. not this VCR, that was the original tape it was dubbed from. So this is like a second gen EP copy, and it looks pretty damn good considering. There's fast forward search. This does not do like the 5X and 15X of the VCRs. This does a straight 15X and 5X on standard play. I have like 13 hours of video from this one. It was my first one. So I know what FurCons are like in 2005. Well, this is it right here. Good stable tape speed. Okay, here's stop. Now when you hit stop, it's just a pass through on the there is no tuner on it, so it just basically turns off the RF modulator. Here's rewind. Also very quiet. Perfecto. And now we'll do a standard play pre-recorded tape.
Welcome to Atlantic's way, up or down, under. The sky's always yellow, rain or shine.
Down to Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
Topsy needs tummy, they start to spin like a Tasmanian devil and his closest kin.
Down to Tasmania, come to Tasmania.
Mom's alive, why and dad's no bump on a log. Molly's all fired up, or Jake plays with the dog.
And so as you can hear, fantastic linear audio quality on this unit. I believe this is a non-HQ machine. There's no marking on it anywhere. Kind of like this VCP here, non-HQ, but still does a fantastic job, as you can see. So this is my oldest one from 1984. This is my next oldest Funai from about 1985 or 86. With my next oldest one being this guy right here, which I'm also going to do video on soon. That one's a 86 or 87 model. So there you go. Very soft and quiet. The brakes work well. In fact, I actually changed all the brakes on them on this one here. So very soft handling of the cassette and power off. And there's the demonstration of the VP-8000. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe.